2.0 and another That's Not My God video. And I'm standing here in my wife's office, which is why you see all the flowers and the brightness of it all. So I'm sitting at the cafe this morning, a little coffee house here in Wapaka. And if you ever come to Wapaka, Wisconsin, I don't know why you would, but if you do, I will treat you to a cup of coffee at one of my favorite coffee spots here in town. But I overheard a conversation, two ladies talking, and what took me back was this is a conversation between two ladies that are probably in their 70s, maybe late 60s. But this is something that I've only really heard from people that are in, 30s, 40s. But the conversation went like this: I didn't see you at church this Sunday. The other lady simply responded, I don't like to go by myself because a lot of the people there, most of them are jerks. Wow. So this is something interesting worth talking about. There's two ways to look at this. Number one, it got me thinking because, there's some truth in that statement. You go any place public. If I go to Fleet Farm, which is a local hardware store, if I go to the local grocery store, if I go to the local electronics store, if I go to the local mall, I can say the same thing about those places as well. I don't like to go there because there are a lot of jerks there. Okay, fair enough. And we can even say, well, okay, so let's go back to Fleet Farm. This is a national chain, well, at least in Wisconsin, which is close to national, right? And if I have a bad experience at one Fleet Farm, does that mean I'm never going to another Fleet Farm again? Probably not. I probably will question if I'm going back to that Fleet Farm again, that specific one, but I'm not going to write off the whole chain. But this is what people do with churches. They have a bad experience in one church or two churches, and so they write off all the churches. Well, I had a bad experience in a Lutheran church, so I'm not going to church anymore. Really? All the Lutheran churches you're going to write off? I had a bad experience in a Pentecostal Assembly of God church. Okay. I had a bad experience at McDonald's. I still go back. It's one of those things. So there's two ways to look at this. Number one, you could look at the scenario and say, okay, yeah, potentially there are a lot of jerks there. There are a lot of people that are jerks. I get that. I've been in church culture in vocational ministry full time for almost 17 years now, and I grew up in the church. I've seen a lot of jerks, and I've been one of those jerks. I'm not afraid to admit that. Sad, but it's true. Sounds like a song. Anyways, churches are full of jerks. Yes, we get that. But at the same time, when people make these kind of comments and they're moving on, and this lady proceeded to talk about how she's been to so many churches and have gone through so many friends that she's just doesn't like to go by herself anymore. Well, this raises another question then. You see where I'm going with this? Yes, the church is full of jerks. Okay, there are people that go there. People can be jerks. You and me can be jerks as well. But there's also the other side. If you're going through churches like crazy and you're blowing through friends like crazy, I'm guessing the churches and all of your friends may not be the problem. That's a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? But it may be that you may be the problem. It's like the person that is hired and fired constantly. Oh, nobody understands my gifts. Nobody understands my abilities. And I've gone through 4 jobs in the past year and blah, blah, blah. When really what's happening is they're not willing to change. You see, there's a term that's called socially awkward. There's other derogatory names for this, but socially awkward, meaning if you go in and you're not willing to talk to anybody, you're not willing to let your guard down, of course you're not going to make friends. It's when people come into a church and they say, I came to your church 3 times, nobody came up to me and said hi. Well, as a pastor, and board members and staff pastors and volunteers will oftentimes do is they'll sit back and assess the situation and look at this thing and say, actually, a lot of people came up to you and said hi, but you weren't willing to let down your wall, so you came across as a jerk. Okay? That seems to be the phrase today. Here's the thing. Churches, any place, but let's talk about churches. Churches ought to be a place where if you go by yourself, you still feel loved, you still feel like you're part of the family. That is in a perfect world. That is in a New Testament church. That doesn't always happen. But I'm willing to bet, I'm willing to guess that if you're willing to let your guard down and you're making strides to meet new people, make new friends, even going outside of your social circle to talk to people, you're going to find out church isn't such a bad place to go by yourself, and you might actually enjoy it. What are your thoughts? Let me know. Email me, pastorbobadams@gmail.com, or post them right here on the YouTube channel, and I'll reply to them. Have a great day.